Hey everybody, welcome back to our neck of the woods. So I was gonna have a video out to you guys this week about some plumbing, but unfortunately the guy that was going to do some trenching, that did the same trenching over there when we buried the electric, had something come up, so can't really get something out to you today. So just want to show you guys some updates that I've kind of done off camera, just because it doesn't take that long and you only get a few seconds of time lapse, or you're just sitting there watching me do the same thing for like an hour. But let me show you what we got going on, and then we'll talk about what's coming up in the near future, and then hopefully, fingers crossed, we start getting some videos out to you guys. So first thing I got done is in, I think, the gutter video that I'm still producing, because I'm still waiting on a lift, which right now is an update. I can't get a lift till next Tuesday, I think. So that's a week away from today, actually. But last week our gemstone showed up. So if you guys can see what's going on over here, I got gemstone up and around the front door. That is not 100% completed, because again, once we put on the scissor trusses up there, imagine a big old triangle going up there. That gemstone's going to go all the way up to the peak, and then eventually, once it meets the kind of slope up going this way on the scissor truss, it eventually will start going up. So that'll kind of be like a triangle that I still have to complete up in there. But I think that looks really good. The only thing Aaron is not super happy about, which kind of I wasn't thinking when I did it, is the outside front door sconces. I'm either going to have to cut a hole into the gemstone, and if I cut a perfect square, then I'll have to like put a couple layers of like the LP Smart Side to build out like a box as it extends this way. And then right in the center of that box, I can drill a hole all the way through several layers of LP, however thick I get, through the foam, through the concrete, through the foam, etc. And then I'll be into the inside of the house where I can drop a wire down. The other option, which I kind of wanted to do, was put these sconces a little bit more on the outside. So here on the gemstone, or on the ICF, and over there on the ICF where it's not done yet. And then that way, when I bring my wire out, I can just cut through the board or the bird blocks, and then cut down through the foam. That way I don't actually have to drill through any concrete, and I can bring the wire down going that way. But Aaron was a little bit worried that the sconces are going to be too far out onto the ICF. But I don't know, if you got a big enough sconce that hangs down low enough, I think it's okay to move it further away. But let me know what you guys think. Should we cut a hole through the gemstone and put in some sort of blocking or box that builds it out so you have a nice flat smooth attachment point for a sconce? Or should we go ahead and put them on the outside of the ICF? And then, of course, with the rest of the gemstone, this was that like $6,000 order that I was talking about that we finally needed. Aaron actually helped me out and actually put it on a credit card, and like I said, that was probably going to happen. So we're just going to pay like the $150, $200 a month or whatever we can to just keep putting it on that credit card and get that thing paid off real quick, so we're not acquiring a lot of interest. But that $6,000 order came with up around the front door, and it also came around with how I wanted to do the side. So that gemstone matches the gemstone on the front of the garage at the same height. So all of that in that green in there will be board and batten, obviously. On the other side of there will be board and batten. And then coming up on here, we've got a nice flat surface that this will all be board and batten too, until we get up to whatever level that we're gonna get up to, and then we'll start those cedar shingles. But it's looking good. I'm happy to at least get more sides of the house done. Haven't shown you guys this yet because it's in the gutter video, but Aaron and I did go ahead and paint the front of the garage, which you probably just saw on camera, but you may not be able to tell how different of a color it is until I show you the gutter video where you actually see the old black versus the new shiny black, and it is a night and day difference. But at least that side of the garage facing the RV is 100% done. And then over here, how we terminated this end, Genstone makes these wraparound corners that kind of terminate around a corner like that. So because this is all going to be decking, whatever I put in here, like say I put another 2x10 in here like this, we'll be able to screw it to this, and then off of this board here, where as you can see it's not all the way to the side, which hindsight 2020, probably should have changed that out a little bit, because that's going to be annoying to cut out the LP to put on there with the trim piece, but it shouldn't be that difficult. But if we bring a board down here, then however we box the deck out with boards running this way, that will go ahead and be all nicely tied in there to where you really can't see it. And there's Salsa. I don't know if you guys are noticing this, but she's in every video when I'm out walking around and talking. What? What's wrong? Oh, he's so cute. She's such a good girl. Still can't get her into the RV without flipping out at the other cats. The other cats are kind of starting to come around where they don't care anymore. But anyway, the only other thing we have to do is start backfilling more. I think I am going to run just one more piece of Genstone along this lower window because this ground tapers out this way. So I'll put another piece around there, and then we'll go ahead and back up more dirt or whatever we're going to use, kind of like as a flower bed or something around the house. But we'll get all that covered up. But what I wanted to have the video out to you guys today was the guy who trenched the electric line. I want to finally go ahead and start trenching this and getting rid of this pipe, because the well drillers are hopefully days away with bringing over all of our water system stuff. So they're going to be putting in a variable controlled pump down in the well, and that was kind of an upgrade that they wanted us to have. And what that means is, instead of your pump turning on really hard down in a well, shoving in, you know, however many PSI or flow rate that it is down into a pressure tank, a variable controlled pump is when this little itty bitty tiny pressure tank needs pressure, instead of filling up some massive thing on the ground that takes away all of your room and your utility rooms and stuff. The variable pump control system only has like this little baby 4-gallon pump or something, or pressure tank, and the pump will slowly increase or decrease its speed, so it's variable, filling up that little 4-gallon pressure tank that will hang on the wall underneath of a manifold, and then that will then go into pressurizing all of the water filtration and everything, and then that will go to the manifold and then go to the boiler, and then, you know, from there it will go out through the house and stuff like that. But a little bit of an expensive upgrade, but again, it's kind of helping that water hammer type effect, so you're not just massively throwing in water into your pipes and then completely shutting it off instantly, where again, water hammering is the starting and stopping of flow, where you can eventually damage pipes, blow fittings, etc. So I think it's kind of an important upgrade, but they're coming over, they want to get everything installed, and one of the things that we want to do, which I might need your help on this, I thought about a way to do their backwashing system, and I'll go inside and tell you what I mean by that. So the iron filter that we're going to have down in the basement to hopefully take care of iron and arsenic and stuff like that, I don't 100% know, we'll have to wait on testing, but the well driller says that when that thing does its regeneration cycle and, you know, backflows all of the contaminants out of the system, that there's going to be somewhere around 120 gallons that thing has to expel. So he says usually we go ahead and we put it down into the sump pump. Well, what worries me about that is 120 gallons thrown down into the sump pump means that pump has to constantly work more whenever that thing does its regeneration cycle, and that's throwing a lot of well contaminated water down into my pump, which I don't want the pump to get, you know, calcium, magnesium and stuff building around it. So I've asked him to think about, on this horizontal pipe right here, what if we go ahead and install a Y fitting and then their PEX tubing that will come on over here that will discharge. We basically pipe it down into the Y, kind of like that. So the PEX will come down from the ceiling. We can use some fittings and stuff to go from the wall here and kind of swing back over so it goes into the Y. And then that way we just worry about gravity taking that 120 gallons out of the house. And again, that way we're not involving the pump, we're not involving anything, we're just relying on gravity throwing it out there. But again, that's why I need that pipe taken care of, because gravity right now isn't gonna be in our favor, since that pipe right there is coming up out of the ground 3 or 4 feet and then going out into the yard. We need to dig a trench down at that level right there and then bring it all the way down to the back of the property till eventually it rises up above ground, which it should be okay, because from ground level, again, that may be about 3 feet, but just from the street to the front of the camper, there's a 44-inch drop in elevation. So think about piping back 200 feet or so, or however long it needs to be till we get out to the backyard, and eventually that pipe will raise above ground, and it actually will still be gravity flowing, but it actually raises up. So we need to basically go ahead and take care of that until the well drillers get here and finish everything up. So since he wasn't able to make it over today and we passed electrical inspection, I think what I'm gonna do for the rest of the day is we're gonna get this room finished. So we're gonna bring some of those black tiles that we used to have out in the garage. We're gonna use that as a floor in here, because we might as well use them up. And we're gonna finish up here on the top, finish on the back wall, finish on this wall over here. We got to go buy some trim to make everything look good, so that way the day that they come over here and install everything, we've got a nice completed system, and I don't have to be sneaking in trim behind any of the filters or anything like that. And maybe we'll even buy a door. So hang tight, I'm gonna head to the store. Again, today is probably just going to be finishing out here, putting in some outlets for the pump, for the variable controller, the boiler, and stuff like that. So I'll be back in a few minutes, and hopefully we get this done today so I can get something out to you guys video-wise for this week. All right, so back from the store, getting started on the plumbing. And if I didn't explain that well before, again, we're trying to get an 1.25" PEX tube from the utility room all the way over to the sump pump. Because when the iron filter and the actual water treatment filters do their back surging, their recirculation and stuff, the iron filter does it like every 3 days or something. The water purifiers and stuff, those tanks do it, I think, on a gallon basis. They're gonna set it at like 2 in the morning, so you're not really up taking a shower or anything when you're pushing all of that water over to the sump pump area. So that's how they're gonna set it up. Again, I think it's gonna go on how many gallons we're actually using and stuff like that, but we need to get an 1.25" line all the way over to the septic tank, or the sump pump, and I do not want to have that water going down into the sump pump, because right now the sump pump sees dirty water that's coming down through the ground next to the foundation, and yeah, it's dirty, it's got clay and silt in it a little bit, but overall it's generally clear and clean. 140 feet down of water though, you've got calcium, magnesium, manganese, iron, and everything like that, and I just don't really want to pump that down into the sump pump and have the sump pump take it out. And we have to bring that line over there anyway. So again, if I didn't explain that well before, we're going to take a Y fitting, put that into that horizontal pipe that is going to eventually not go out of the basement wall, because right now it's going out, up, and on top of the ground. It's eventually going to just go downhill and go all the way out to the backyard. So we've got a check valve over here so that water can't come down this line from the PEX, all of the, again, the recirculating water or the regeneration water, and get down into the sump pump, because we have one of these. We have a check valve down in there. So we've got a Y fitting here, and we're eventually gonna kind of snake this out of here and then go back up the wall, where we'll have this pipe here, you know, kind of up on the wall there, and then that is where our 1.25" PEX tube will attach to on this brass fitting. Now, real quick on plumbing, I do not know a lot, so anyone stop me here if I'm doing anything wrong. I can always cut this out and redo it at a later date. But from what I know, at least from plumbing, this is a Y fitting. Now, I see people messing up Y fittings and Sani T fittings a lot. In fact, I'm on a Facebook page right now where I saw someone was asking a completely separate question, and a bunch of us noticed that they installed Y fittings instead of Sani T fittings. And the difference is a Y fitting, that basically looks like a Y, while a Sani T looks more like a T. This guy right here would be more straight up like this, like in the shape of a T. And Y fittings are only supposed to be installed in horizontal locations. So the water flow is going this way horizontally. You cannot install a Y fitting vertically. This is where a Sani T fitting is needed. It has to do with basically how the air is in here. And when this is in this location, if this pipe was coming horizontally like this and down in there, you basically get water up in the top of here and not air, and therefore you'll get burbling and guzzling, and it won't really flow down in there easily. But going this way, the air gets flown better, and I don't know, you can't put a Sani T this way, and you can't put a Y fitting this way. So again, I don't know, it's against plumbing code, but we're just gonna cut in that horizontal, install this guy, and then just in case, I don't know how well this will work because again, you're going up against a lot of gravity here. I did buy an extra one-way valve to install up here on the wall. And that's because when the sump pump actually kicks on and is kicking water out, just in case if water wanted to flow back up here and go up the wall, we don't want the sump pump water going all the way over to our iron filters. So again, we're gonna install one of these one-way check valves up the wall, and hopefully that, obviously, if water were to shoot back up here, this would stop it. And of course, if there was ever a blockage on the outside of the house where the sump pump can't push its water out for some reason, again, we don't want that really then being forced up and going all the way over to our iron filter and our water treatment filters. Now, the only thing I'm not 100% sure on is this one-way check valve is for a sump pump. But when you install this, you usually install it in this orientation where you can read the lettering. So water can go up this way and open the check valve, but if water tries to come back down with gravity, the valve shuts. We need to install it upside down, per se. That way, water will flow down through here and can push on the valve, which it very easily does. But the valve is now, when there's no water behind here, or I'm sorry, when there is water behind here and it's shut off or whatever, this valve may want to kind of go down in the down position. So it's not 100% closed. It's spring loaded, so it is pretty much closed. But it has me worrying that, again, you should only install these one way and not the other. But if the sump pump were to kick on and water were really to push up on here and be forced up here, that is going to force the check valve then to close. So can't say that's 100% how this is going to get used. It's how I'm going to try to use it. But it just is what it is. I think it'll be fine, that it will stop sump pump water from shooting up here and getting over to there. But in this orientation, it will allow water to obviously flow down, basically, you know, kind of attached like that, and will go on out. But I've got a few more 45s and stuff so that we can kind of install it like this. So now we're going up the wall, but this is also still in a horizontal position. And just hang tight real quick. I'm gonna kind of pre-assemble everything and then we'll get back to it. Okay, so assembled what will be going up the wall. Again, stop me if I'm wrong, but it should work. But we've got 1.25 inch brass with piping tape wrapped around down into a piece of PVC, 1.5 inches. That's put into the 1.5 inch one-way valve. We've got 1.5 inch pipe down here. We've got 1.5 to 2 inch reducer, and then we'll have some 2 inch pipe. And again, this is what's gonna go up against the wall where the PEX will attach to. And then We'll put again a piece of 2" into this 45. So that again will go down into the reducer, into this piece. That will then go down into another little piece of 2" where it will then snake around and will go out that Y fitting and go on out. So again, this should protect us that if the sump pump wants to turn on, the sump pump can't push up in through there. It's gonna hit this check valve and not be able to go anywhere, but water can come down from the ceiling and flow one way down in through here. And again, the whole point of this is just so we're not dumping 120 gallons when the iron filter does its thing, and then every 3 days or something, or however many hundreds of gallons that the actual water softener and everything needs to do its recirculation, back purging type of thing. I don't want hundreds and hundreds of gallons going down into the sump pump, because not only can you're bringing in those contaminants of magnesium, calcium, and everything else, which may burn out my pump one day, but let's say the power goes out 2 in the morning, I'm not home, this thing's trying to push 120 gallons over and the power's off and the sump pump's not working. Obviously a battery backup would help solve that, but again, we don't even have to worry about water going into the sump pump because it's going after the sump pump. It can flow out of the house, and we've got check valves on both ends so that water can't go back into the sump pump that way, and the sump pump can't push water up and go back over to the utility room. So let's go down in the basement. Let's cut the 2" and let's see what this thing looks like fully assembled. First thing I had to do, because this is going uphill outside, I had to take the lid slightly up, disconnect down there on the coupling on the one-way valve to let all of this water out. And then I just took off this kind of 90 fitting here. Now that I got my Y installed on this way, I had to cut the fitting that was going this way. Now we're gonna go ahead and turn it around so that we can glue this onto here. And then again, we'll just shorten our 90 so that now we go back down to the sump pump. And then we need to figure out how long of a piece we need to go from here up to here on the wall somewhere so that these two can be attached in there. And then we can just go ahead and attach this guy to this guy with a little bit more 2" piece of pipe. And then the only thing I want to do for now, because we're going to set it all up now, just in case this check valve were to let pressurized water go up and out the brass fitting here, I'm gonna get this installed higher than where the discharge is currently on the outside of the house laying on the ground. I don't want this all the way down here because now water's gonna wanna find the path of least resistance, which will probably be to come back up here below ground here, while the discharge is somewhere, 3 feet above ground outside. So we're gonna install this super high up on the wall. We've got 10 feet of 2" pipe that I could pretty much bring this all the way to the LVL if I wanted, but that will almost guarantee that water's gonna wanna go out the 90 that way and flow out into the yard instead of actually putting pressure on that one-way valve. Anybody knows clamps that are better than worm clamps, let me know. If you guys remember last winter, one of these worm clamps blew off and the sump pump was actually shooting the water up out of here all over onto the floor because one of these worm clamps let go. And in fact, it's actually happened once on the outside too. I know they make a better worm clamp that instead of just using the worm function, it's actually like a bolt, more for like what you would use on like the intake system of a car. And the nut that's on them that actually tightens onto a bolt, it's nylon threaded, so it doesn't really want to back out. I think those are so much better. I don't know if they actually make, I mean, I know they make car ones, but I think they might actually make fittings for plumbing that are not worm clamps, but hold a hell of a lot better, and they're stainless steel so they don't rust or anything. Okay, that should reinstall that. I don't really want to turn the sump pump on and check that out because a hell of a lot of water is going to want to go out that way. But I've got some boards here that we've got some 2-inch or 1.5-inch straps. So we'll put these boards on the ICF here. The strap will go around the 1.5 inches so that we can attach it like that. And we'll put 2 of them up here. That will keep it nice and secure. And then we should be done. So let's just measure out from this 45 out to here, get a piece of pipe cut, put down in there, and then we can go ahead and put on the stack. All right, hopefully I got this cut right. Test fitted it a few times. Obviously you can always push the pipe in further when you got the glue, and it kind of shrinks some of this PVC once it gets cleaned up. But again, that should sit like that. It's far enough off of the wall that will accommodate that when this piece gets set here and the up pipe sits on there, it should sit off of enough to accommodate. But again, won't really know for sure until you push everything together when it actually gets pushed together a lot tighter than that 1/4 of an inch I just had in there. But there should be plenty of room to play with. So let's just install the 45 first, and then we'll see what it looks like from there. All right, now one thing I do want to mention, until I get that line out there trenched down in, I probably won't be using this. Obviously the well guys haven't come over yet anyway, but I probably will not be using this because that has to go outside there and go up like 3 feet before it goes out. Water, I think, is just going to be sitting in this line from here all the way up to wherever ground level is. So it's and it could actually want to start to backflow back over there. So until gravity can fully take effect of this, I'm not actually going to have the well guys really install anything. So I really was hoping that trencher guy was going to come over today so we could get that trenched out, get the line in the ground, and then the day that the well guys come over and actually install and get the PEX over here, everything would be 100%. But is what it is, so we gotta wait. And if anybody's wondering, I don't know the answer to this actually, how much pressure that 120 gallons is actually gonna flow over here, because PVC is not rated for pressure. But hopefully it's not any more than a sump pump, you would think, because this thing can kick over 7,000 gallons or almost 7,000 gallons an hour, and none of these fittings have really exploded or blown apart. So if this sump pump isn't doing it, I don't think that pump's going to do it anyway. But again, once we get rid of that going up and then out, and we're all doing gravity, then you're really not going to be putting pressure or anything in these fittings where that would actually be a problem. I may not be able to smell or taste still, but I can sure smell that there's some sort of chemical in the air. Oh man, I'm gonna get a contact buzz. Speaking of not smelling or tasting still, this is kind of sad. My birthday was yesterday, and my mom and stepdad came down for dinner, and we went to Ruth Chris Steakhouse. Always a phenomenal place to eat, best fillets, but sucks that you can't go and enjoy and actually taste everything. But everyone else seemed to enjoy it, so at least they had some fun. But obviously I enjoy the company. But man, I wish I could just taste just a nice juicy fillet again. Holy crap, that purple stuff just touched the ICF wall. That is eating it like freaking nothing. Oh man. All right, there you have it. So I'll put those boards back there and get that 1.5 inches tied with the little clamps that I got. They're just little, U-shaped clamps that go on there. And then fingers crossed, with all the water that came down through that piping, the sump pump probably will kick on as soon as I plug it in. So we're either gonna have Mount Rushmore come out of the top of that brass fitting, or it won't, and it'll all flow out the discharge. So let's go ahead and put our boards back there, get it attached to the ICF, put the clamps on, and then we'll turn it on, and fingers crossed nothing happens. All right, moment of truth. Check valve either isn't going to work, or the fact that that's probably 1.5 feet higher than the discharge going out this way. But again, with this sump pump being so strong, hopefully I can actually feel if any water is actually going to come up here, or is it going to want to go more that way. So I don't know, fingers crossed, let's see. Oh, there's not enough water in the sump pump. Dang it. Well, maybe I'll go get a bucket of water and pour it down in here, because obviously we do want to test this thing so we're not in the RV and this thing's just splashing out everywhere. All right, round two. Hopefully that pot of water was enough to turn this thing on. Let's see. Still not on. Dang it. All right, third time's a charm. If that doesn't do it, this pump is broken, because there's a crap ton of water down in that sump pump now. No way. It looks like enough water to me, but let's go ahead and turn it on manually. Or let's make sure that this thing actually is turning on. The GFCI outlet's on. Well, seemed to work. No water came out, but when the pump turned off, if you heard that gargling, this valve was opened up to allow air to shoot down in there. And that's what that gurgle was. But I don't think I heard it fly up here, but at least you know that's kind of like an air chamber now. And because this isn't connected to septic, there's no P-trap on here, so really shouldn't have to worry about any of that. And then again, once the PEX is attached to here and goes over to there, it will be a completely closed system. So that'll be interesting when that pump shuts off every time. If air is going to either infiltrate or want to pull water over from there because the pump just shut off, or did that only happen due to the fact that this is running uphill? Once we have a gravity feed line down to the backyard, air should come into this pipe from the outlet out there and should be able to help stop that. But I don't know. No water shot out here, and it's not wet inside, so I think we're good to go. Okay, so before we get to finishing out the inside of the utility room, I'm actually pretty happy about this if I did it right. So over here, we have our laser level, and we just undug the top of the pipe of the discharge. Now, it's pretty far down here, but I think I made the mistake of putting that too low. I was afraid that as gravity just slowly takes water out, whether it be from the sump pump or now in this case, the regeneration cycle of all of the water treatment, I was like, I really need to put that down below grade, like 32 inches, just in case that water's flowing down the PVC and then it freezes. But if we get enough angle, it really won't have a chance to freeze because it's running really fast. It is underground, and yes, eventually it's gonna have to come above ground, so you're gonna be above 32 inches anyway. But if we really just snake that thing down and let gravity take all that water out, I think we should be fine. So I got my stick and my receiver, got it over here sitting on top of the pipe. And again, I thought because we were so far below ground next to the house, we were gonna have to like go all the way back to the cornfield. But leaving the receiver at its height to where I found for top of pipe, we are actually only a few feet over here, just behind the wood pile by the fire pit. So if we take our stick and we're back over here somewhere, then we're actually probably that tree. If we go to that tree right there, we're more than fine, because actually where top of pipe is right about here. So as you can see, we're not that far from the laser level, and we're not that actually far from the house. So that is freaking awesome. We don't have to spend a whole lot of money trenching this out. And in fact, if the trencher guy can't come out and do it with a trencher, because that's actually the next thing I want to measure real quick. I don't think his trencher can actually get down to where top of pipe is right now anyway, over here. He might actually, we might actually need like a mini excavator. I'm gonna have to message him real quick and see, but if we measure from ground level to top of pipe, which we're probably gonna wanna go a few inches below pipe, it looks like ground level's around 32 inches down. So we're gonna need probably 32, 33, 34, maybe 36 inches down. So he would have to get 36 inches down starting here. And then I'll probably just work around this wood pile, maybe spend a little bit more in PVC pipe, but maybe only a stick or so, instead of kind of going at an angle like right through there, which would make the most sense. If I don't have time to move this huge pile of dirt, we may just go on here where the original pipe is laying, and then just kind of take a 45 degree bend, and then, or a 90-degree bend, and then like somewhere out here, we'll just 90 and go right to that tree back there. But that's actually not bad. That's only about 10, 20, 30, 40 feet here of pipe there, and then maybe another 40 feet of pipe there. So only 80 feet really to get it above ground. And then good thing we've got these ditches here, where again, this is an old like farming tractor road where they kind of put culverts on each side, if you will, here and on the other side of that, where they used to drive back in between the field. We've basically got this huge divot over here, this culvert, where eventually the pipe can just sit kind of right here at the edge and put all of its water down in here, and then all the water will drain back there going out towards the field. So yeah, that makes me really happy. So now I'm going to get back inside and actually finish up the inside of the utility room, because again, I'll message him to see if I actually have to get a mini excavator or not, but 80 feet, that's not bad. I'll take it. Okay, 1 in the morning. I am wrapping it up here. I am done to the point where the well drillers can come in here and place all their stuff. As you can see, we got some flooring down, which flooring is 100% down. Dirty as hell. We're gonna have to scrub this thing like 5 or 6 times, especially when the well drillers come in and we all got boots on and stuff. We're just gonna keep getting it dirty and trekking in all the silt and dirt that's out here on the concrete and keep bringing it in here. But floor is done. The bottom trim is done, and everything along this wall is done. So whatever they're gonna do to bring this line over along this wall all the way over to here, I think we talked about putting the iron filter and the 2 water purifiers and then the salt brine tank. So we're gonna have 4 things here. The 2 water purifiers are huge. They're almost 12 inches in diameter this way, and they're probably 5, 6 or something high. And there's gonna be 2 of those with 2 monitoring systems on top of those. They've got like green sand and like a whole bunch of other stuff, I think, inside of them. Or maybe that's the iron filter. The iron filter has green sand in it. And that thing's also the same height, a little skinnier. And then of course we need a salt brine tank to mix up in here. So 4 really large tanks are gonna kind of go in this corner. And then somewhere along this wall, we're gonna hang the hot water tank and the manifold, so all that feeds in and then goes wherever it needs to go. And I've got the trim up all the way around here again, so that way, at least on this side and kind of up on that top, I'm not going to be in the tank's way to finish this room out. So once the tanks stop over here, I can go ahead and finish up here, which this is going to be kind of a little tricky because we've got 2 water lines going out into the garage. We've got the conduit going out into the garage that's going to feed Ethernet. That's also going to have 2 PEX lines through it that are going to stick in there, which actually I want to go make sure that that fits. So just a little piece of 1/2 inch PEX through there. Yeah, 2 of them will definitely fit, no problem. I believe though manifolds are 3/4 inch. So we're gonna need a hot and a cold 3/4 inch to go through there if we ever use the radiant floor in the garage. I'm really stepping back kind of on radiant flooring now because the mini splits cool and heat so well. But the mini splits only heat down to about, I think, 4 degrees Fahrenheit, which we actually can see like -5 or below here. So we may need to eventually hook up the radiant tubes here, but somehow we're gonna have to get 2 hot and cold lines going through that, whether they're 1/2 inch or whether they're 3/4 inch, tie into a manifold for the 3 zones out in the garage, and that will feed that. But again, the last panel that I need to hang here, we got a couple intricate cuts here, 3 as opposed to just the singles that I've been doing. And then obviously we got that electrical conduit up in there. That's gonna be a little bit of a pain, but again, everything is done so that in the next video, part 2, we will go ahead and we will get our water filtration in here. We will still need to cut out electrical boxes here and probably over here for, again, we need a dual gang over here for the filtration and the iron. And then I think over here we've actually got the variable controller for the well pump that will go over here. And I've already run that line over here. We just need to then run a line from the VF controller all the way over here out through that piece of conduit, and then that's what actually goes to the pump. But I think that's a 10 gauge, and we've got 12 gauge going over to at least power the VF controller off of a dual 20 amp breaker. So again, part 2, we'll go over all that, see how everything's hooked up, but we just need to basically hang 2 electrical boxes, whether they're a dual gang, single gang, or dual gang, and I can also plug the hot water tank in there too. But then hot water tank boiler we may also need for the radiant tubes down here. But again, stay tuned. We'll go all that in another video, part 2. But what do you guys think? We got the utility room probably 85% done, looking good. We're ready for some water finally, and it can't come at a better time because the downtown plant just keeps shutting down and screwing us over, and we have to keep going to friends' houses to get water, and we are done. We are tired of this. I want water connected to these 2 lines right here. I want to be able to hook a garden hose up, fill our RV up on the outdoor storage, and have some permanent water for now and hopefully forever, as long as we're in the RV. So I'll see you guys in another video. Again, part 2, stick around. If you like how the house is looking, you like how that's looking, can't wait for the water to be installed, hit that thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already. Hit us up at NeckofTheWoods 2020 on Instagram if you need to personal message us. And again, hit that thumbs up button, really helps the channel out. And we'll see you guys next time.